piped in, but yeah. So this is the Vets Are Zags podcast. My name is Patrick Piper. With me here, I have Drew Rieder. Drew, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do here at Gonzaga?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm blessed to be able to work in the alumni area as part of our university advancement division. I've worked here since 2008, and I basically oversee all of our alumni regional chapters and affinity communities and work with leadership teams and volunteers all across the nation and the world.
Right on. So how did you get into like that position? Like how does one become the...
Yeah, I kind of stumbled into it. I kind of stumbled into alumni work in general. I've always been kind of a people person and went to Gonzaga as an undergrad and went through the ROTC program there. And so I kind of had like the leadership part and the people part. And then I didn't end up going active duty after Gonzaga. So I was, still on the civilian side and did a lot of my time at the Guard. So I was looking for careers, and I started out. I got laid off in early 2001, and a friend referred me to a job. This is going to sound like a diversion, but out at Eastern Washington University in Cheney in alumni, and just a lot of work with people and putting on events and connecting people. And so I kind of cut my teeth in alumni work there, with a short stint after that trying to be a stockbroker at Merrill Lynch, and that was very interesting and educational. During that time, this all ties in, I promise.
Sure.
During that time, I started volunteering at Gonzaga because the people at Merrill Lynch were like, you got to go out and build your network and find clients and all the things. And so I was like, okay, well, what's a natural thing for me? I'm going to get involved with the Zags. So I helped. They were just starting building their regional chapter program. And I was helping launch the Spokane chapter. I was the vice president, ended up being the vice president of the Spokane chapter. This is in like 2007. Funny enough, the chapter president was Matt Santangelo. If you know any Gonzaga basketball history, he was the point guard on the 99 team when we broke through, and super good dude. He had just gotten back from playing, in the UK, professional ball. So it was just an interesting matchup. But I was volunteering as the stockbroker guy. They had a position open when I was a couple years into, my job there. I wasn't really loving it because they said this is a relationship business, and it is, but it isn't. It's basically
a transactional relationship.
It's hardcore
business.
Sales is what it is. Like it's just a Shark Tank. So not like the TV show Shark Tank, because I actually like that. At any rate, they offered me a job. Or they told me about the job, and I ended up interviewing, and that was 2008. So, and at the time, honestly, the economy was absolutely melting down. So it was a terrible time to like try and get into that work anyway. But getting into alumni relations, because I'd worked at Eastern, and really did love it, was just a natural fit, and that was 18 years ago. This month. Yeah. So, which is, July of 2026. So I just kind of stumbled into it as a volunteer and have turned it into a career. And I just started out as a guy who was trying to help Gonzaga build their regional chapters. And we were going to build like 5 or 10 of them. And now we have like 50, which, vary in activity throughout the year. Obviously, we're very busy during basketball season. We do a lot of game watches, but I just kind of just hung around and kept connecting people, and we kept building, and it's been fun. Yeah, it's been great.
So while we're on Gonzaga, talk about some of that work with the regional groups and the affinity groups, and so my intended audience for this podcast is going to be Gonzaga students, right? Yeah. Mostly. Yeah. And so kind of with that eye towards like future alumni and like what's in it for me, kind of what so. I guess within that lens, like kind of talk about those regional groups and the work that they're doing for the university and for graduates and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. The chances are that anywhere a Zag alum moves or lives and works, there's a chapter or there's a group of Zags. So whether or not we have a Gonzaga alumni community, we could start one. The Gonzaga network is amazing. Zags will do anything for each other. Like, it is just crazy. We have this phrase called Zags helping Zags. Zags help Zags. Yeah. And it's so true. It's not just a cliche. We use it all the time because it's literally, you're looking for a job. If a Zag is at an employer and they see your resume in the stack of resumes, they're going to try to have a conversation with you. They return emails from students and recent grads who are out there in the job market trying to figure out what to do after they graduate. So it's super cool. So that regional chapter network is a part of that Zag network that's kind of tied in also with our career center, our career and professional development office. We do these treks where we take students out to employers, and these employers are at alumni run companies or where you have alumni in leadership. So the chapters tie in with that. So students at Gonzaga and people who become alums of Zag alums have a lot to look forward to in terms of connection. Lifelong connection, not just for your professional life, but for social life. You and I were just talking about Austin. We have an Austin, Texas chapter, which is pretty awesome. So like that.
Well, there's your excuse. You got to get out to the Austin chapter.
Exactly.
You gotta get down there.
Exactly. Well, now, we got Texas State, which is not exactly Austin. It's a couple hours from there. We're in the Pac-12 now.
Yeah.
This was July 1st. We just joined the Pac-12. So, I'm gonna get down there, but. I guess, long answer to your question is I think it's pretty special what Gonzaga has. We talk about community here. It's a special place. And so whatever gets infused in us here in Spokane and in this little part of the country, our campus, Spokane, it carries on across the nation. It carries on in our Florence campus. We have a Florence chapter. We have a Canada chapter, which is, based in Alberta. And it's just fascinating, like all across the country, the kinds of people that I get to meet. Like my favorite part of my job is meeting Zags from different years, different classes, they have different backgrounds. But the thread within all of them is just this deep care for Gonzaga, its mission, its people, and really just trying to help people, a real service oriented mindset in everybody that I meet.
Yeah. And I think that's really amazing. I've got, I guess technically I've got 4 college degrees now, and I'm on my way to the 5th, right?
Congratulations.
But so that's 4 different colleges I've been to.
Yeah.
And obviously, like for the most part in the other colleges, the alumni outreach consists of like, hey, you should donate to the school, right? Yep. And so I think it's just really amazing. And another reason I wanted to have you on is I do really think it's cool, all of the things that Gonzaga does for the alumni, and especially, with an eye towards the current students and things like that. And with my advanced age and experience, the understanding of the importance of networking. Because like when I was younger, networking always kind of felt like icky. And I'm a pretty outgoing guy, but it always feels like I just want something from you. And so that feels gross, right?
Yep.
But having that like genuine connection and being able to like immediately have something in common and some common ground with somebody, and then approaching with like a willingness to, not just like, what can you do for me, but like, what can I do for the community, right? Like, oh, there's a chapter. What are we up to? How can I involve myself, be useful, showcase talent, all that kind of stuff, to build that network. But I think it's just so important. Because I've always sucked. Like I've gotten better at networking, you know what I mean? But like all these connections that I had that I've lost and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, constantly like watering that network and all that kind of stuff is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's interestingly enough, you talk about networking, and it is, it can be tricky, right? Especially for students. They're like, I don't know how I feel about this. The same kinds of feelings, like this seems contrived and whatnot. Back to like what students and soon-to-be recent grads can expect. Our alumni are so incredibly warm and friendly to students. Like it's crazy. We take these treks I was talking about where we take students to different cities and visit companies. We do one in New York every year. And it's just incredible to see these very successful Wall Street Zag alumni that are just so personable and will sit and have a conversation and do whatever they can to help students, and they connect on Gonzaga first. That's the foundation.
Yeah.
Alumni want to know, like, what's Gonzaga like now? Like, what dorm did you stay in? Like, and they'll be like, well, I was a DeSmet guy, or whatever. Like, you just get spinning, and this is what it was like for me. And then you get down to the conversation about, okay, what are you interested in pursuing career-wise? And it's just it's really incredible to watch some of these conversations. So just a note of encouragement on the relationship building side. Like, so much of that is natural if you're a Zag reaching out to other Zags, because they will probably 9 times out of 10 return your email, your LinkedIn message, call you back, and you have a better chance of working through the Zag network if you're trying to get somewhere. Than just throwing out resumes randomly to companies. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. What's funny? So you were talking about Zags always want to know like how Gonzaga's changed or whatever.
Totally.
And obviously you've been here for quite a sweep as a student yourself and all that kind of stuff. So in the arc of history of Gonzaga that you've seen, like what's different now?
Yeah.
From when you were a student and then maybe from when you started here on staff?
Yeah, it's incredible. People ask me that, literally ask me that question a lot. And the first thing I'll say before I kind of get into some particulars is I feel like the heart's still the same. Like I tell people, like I still feel the same walking through campus that I did as a student. I got here in the fall of 1992, so a little while ago, early 90s. But I still feel that same, just that peace, that energy, the campus, there's something special about it. That being said, when I got here, they just had built the Foley Library. Okay. So I literally had just finished that. The library used to be the Crosby Center, which is now, the Career and Professional Development Office's first floor. And we got a lot more buildings. There's a lot more technology. Used to be able to just go anywhere. There was no key codes and, no electronic this and that. Yeah. Email had just started, I think, my senior year. Email. Yeah. So think about that for a minute. Yeah. And now it's like students don't even send email anymore, and let alone answer emails. Yeah. That's a joke. I'm sure they do. Our students are better. But and side note, I really didn't like email when it came out, and I still don't like it that much. But anyway, Gonzaga's just continued to somehow preserve what it is and its history and its mission. 1887 was when it started. So it's somehow continued to preserve its own unique identity and at the same time grow up with Spokane, grow up with this city. The two, like Spokane and Gonzaga, are kind of inextricably linked together. Like there's no way to like decouple them. Yeah. Like they're kind of one. And even when in 1887 we started, although it was a little bumpy with some parts of our past history, the city wanted a university. The Jesuits wanted to build one as a mission and as a place that would last, and it has, and it's incredible. Mulligan Field used to be mud and rocks. We played, football, and I, work out on that, and you walk through the mud from, Madonna and CM to the Cog. My sister used to play rugby on that field. She was a couple of class years behind me. So the facility's gotten a little bit better, a lot better. Yeah. But that's okay. That just speaks to the generosity of our alumni and those people that have given to help us build those. And it also speaks to the vision of the leadership to continue to build a meaningful place for students to come, and really be transformed. And I still feel that way. Like I work for the university, but I'm also just so incredibly grateful that I stumbled here to Gonzaga sight unseen. I'm originally from the west side of Washington, went to a Jesuit prep school, got an ROTC scholarship, but I never visited Gonzaga. I just had a buddy who went here, and so I got all these offers from because government money, it's paid. Like they're like, well, we'll take you.
Yeah, absolutely, we'll take your scholarship money.
Well, this one's not in my backyard. It's 5 hours. That's not too bad. I get away from mom and dad, and then I just tell you, like from day one, it was just amazing. Never having visited, which I wouldn't recommend. I'd recommend you come see this place because I think there's some stat out there. The admissions people can check me on it, but it's like over 50% of prospective students who visit say yes to Gonzaga. They come here and they see it. I don't know. It's just the place is special. They say yes. So anyway, that wasn't my story.
Yeah. No, that's funny. It's funny because I was thinking about I've got my about to be senior in high school who wants to go over to the west side for school kind of for the same thing. It's just like she would love to go to Gonzaga if we didn't already live in Spokane. She wants to get 4 hours 5 hours away and all, and it's like, okay,
totally get it,
get on over there. But yeah
no, it's just funny. It's funny to even think back. Like, you asked me a question like, how's Gonzaga changed? And it's like, man, it's just this rush of all of the things that used to be. Like, they had, unfortunately, had to tear down a few dorms here and there that were memory places for me. The Rosars lawn right now actually used to be Campus House, which was it's now called Faber House, and it's on Sharp, and it's a different house. But this Campus House was a campus ministry thing, and you lived in the house with another roommate, and you hosted like all these different interfaith gatherings at the house. And so you were the host of the house. They paid for your room, and then like a little stipend for meals and stuff. But that's what I did my senior year.
Interesting.
And it's a very like small company of people, like 2 people per year. And then when they built Hemmingson, they tore it down. And it was kind of traumatic. So, but at the same time, it needed to go. I guess there was asbestos in the basement.
Sure.
All sorts of things. Anyway, you can bleep that out, I guess, if you need to. I have no idea if that's true or not, but it was an old house.
Yeah.
But Zags love the parts of this campus that they spend a lot of time, and people who were here before Hemmingson was here talk about the old COG, and they talk about the dances we used to have in there every Friday, and they talk about just the differences in the space, because that's the space you grew up in. We didn't have a Zag shop back then. We had this tiny little bookstore, which we called the bookstore because it was barely like 2 or 3 racks of clothing, and they're all like gray athletic department color that just said Gonzaga athletic department. We didn't have any swag. Zero swag, So
and now it's like 60% swag
it's
in
all
there.
swag. Yeah, it's like,
so you can't call it a bookstore.
Nobody buys books anymore. I don't even know why they stock the books, even though I like
just
a book.
For show.
I like
it's
a physical book, but everything's digital. So anyway, it's a different world, and but again, like better. Like we keep getting better, and it's a different world. There are different kinds of students and different kinds of needs that we're trying to meet for students who are coming through, and I think everybody that I know that works here is trying their best to help with that, trying to make it the best for the students.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting just too being in alumni work. Even though alumni are graduates of Gonzaga, we are very student-centric in terms of our point of view. And what I mean when I say that is that all graduates from Gonzaga are just former students of Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And so we really just think about that mindset. Like, that's the core of your experience, is the foundation of your education and your time here. And then you build from that. You're a former student. That's what an alum is. Someone who is from here.
Yeah.
And it's gotten a little more interesting with a lot of online degrees now and people getting their master's degrees. But what's very interesting, and some of this is anecdotal, but our graduates in our graduate programs are oftentimes, and I've met hundreds of them, oftentimes they feel more loyal to Gonzaga than they do their undergraduate.
Yeah.
And that is interesting because that's somebody who has maybe set foot on campus a couple times.
Yeah.
Maybe they came for a concentrated class for a week, and then they came for graduation.
Yeah.
But they feel like they're Zags, and they are.
Yeah.
But it's different than spending 4 years here.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So my first experience at Gonzaga was going through the organizational leadership program. So it's exactly what you're talking about. It's predominantly online, but many of the classes have a weekend in residence requirement. And then I think 1 or 2 of the required classes have the weekend requirement. Maybe it's just one of them, but then there's a bunch that have that as part of the class. And I made sure, because I was using the GI Bill, so you get a housing stipend. And if it's purely online, it's less money than if it's actually like in residence classes.
Yep.
So every semester I made sure I was taking one of those like that had a weekend retreat, because then that counted as like in residence for the whole semester. But the thing is invariably those classes were the most impactful classes I took. And something about being, even just for the weekend, right? Like, 'cause I mean, you're on a Blackboard discussion thing with people, but then, you get to actually sit down and connect, and have that sort of experience. The ironic thing is, I'm going to butcher the name of the class. I think it's Imagine, Create, Lead is the name of the class.
Yeah.
But it serves as basically like an orientation for the program. And I'm sure somebody said that to me, but I missed that or something. So I literally took that class the last semester of the program. It was one of the last classes I took. And we get to the weekend retreat and it's all the like, here's this and here's these systems and all. I was like, man, I really wish I'd have known that 18 months ago. And they were like, yeah, you should have taken this class first. And I'm like, that's why. Yeah, no. But no, it's interesting, like how that does create community. And I see it, like we were talking before we turned the mics on, being like an older student, right? Like I'm in the class. I mean, it's been a great experience, but obviously, like I'm not hanging out. You know what I mean? I'm not like hanging out at dorm parties, and I'm not experiencing the social life of the college. But it's interesting to watch, those relationships form and kind of see, like students. Because I mean, for me, I joined the military at 17. I didn't go. I didn't go to college in the sense of like actually going to college, right? I completed degree requirements is what I did. But it's interesting to me how college serves as that bridge to adulthood in the same way that kind of the military does. It's like you're going to take these kids who've never been on their own, and it's like you're, more than likely your first time away and then having that sort of, it's like a halfway house, right? Of like, you're not completely on your own. You have a huge support system. You have people here dedicated to your success, but you're, we're playing for points now kind of thing. It's just, it's been great to kind of see that,
Yeah. And I think Gonzaga does it better than anybody. And obviously, like, I'm biased. If you're a Zag, you're kind of biased, right? Because that's been your experience. Although you look at other systems and, Gonzaga's special. So, like, it is, I think, so essential for young adults to have that time, whether it be joining the military or going and serving in some capacity abroad or going to college. I still think it's essential to development, to your point. Like, and Gonzaga is a transformative experience. And then at Gonzaga, like, they offer all these other transformative experiences that make it so special. You can pretty much get involved in whatever you want here. I mean, and the service component is amazing. The Center for Community Engagement does such great work here. If you haven't ever talked to those folks, they're great. But yeah, it's I don't know what my life would be like. I think about that sometimes had I not come to Gonzaga, had I just gone to UW or somewhere in my backyard, over in the Tacoma, Seattle area. But I'm so glad I came to GU. And it's really interesting to see the trajectory that it's been on. It's been amazing, because there have definitely been times where this place was, struggling in terms of just balancing the budget and keeping money coming in and figuring out their strategic direction. And somehow, whether it's the hand of God or the wisdom of the leadership here, we've continued to kind of keep going and excelling. And, now we're a household name across the country. And people most of the time pronounce it correctly. Although occasionally they get it wrong and,
It was funny. Before I came here as a student, my wife's from Spokane. I am not. But I would mispronounce it on purpose just to needle her. She doesn't listen to this podcast, so it's fine. I can say that. But it's funny. But like the name, like as an actual like family name, would actually be pronounced Gonzaga, like often. And so like I had like, history on my side. I'm like, well, they're pronouncing it wrong. It's not me. But, mainly it was just to mess with her.
It is funny. If you're a Zag, it really, It really gets to people.
I go to Gonzaga in Spokane.
No, or we've had people, do interviews for positions here and like not pronounce Gonzaga correctly and they don't make it through the interview without somebody at the table going, I'm not saying whether or not they got hired. I'm just saying like you can't have a bunch of Zags in a room interviewing someone and have like we stop the interview and go, I'm sorry, it's Gonzaga, just to make sure that's how you pronounce. Oh my gosh, because I think if you're not here, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's easy to make
it's easy to mess up.
It's hilarious. Who was the guy? Was it the Texas coach? I can't remember. Some guy who used to coach at Wazoo, Kelvin. You can look it up, but basically they've been in the top NCAAs. But he's from Wazoo. He coached at Washington State. Somebody from the press corps was asking him a question about Gonzaga, and he like snapped at the person and was like, first of all, let me stop you. It was so funny, and man. I love that. Like he's not even from but he's like I respect that system and that coach, and it's Gonzaga, and he goes, just like my name is Kelvin, not Kevin. He went off. It's a great soundbite if you look it up, but we get kind of excited about pronouncing our name correctly. As people do.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's important. You got to say people's name right? Absolutely. Oh, man. So tell me about the ROTC here at Gonzaga.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy how I even stumbled. I'll kind of start like a little bit before Gonzaga for me because I was trying to get into the service academies, and I was like, I almost got into West Point. I almost got into Annapolis. I was like in the top 2,000, but they take 1,200. So like that's honestly like it's light years away from getting it. So I was happy that I got that. But then I was like, it didn't work out for me. I kind of had my heart set on it. And then at the same time, the packet to apply to service academies versus ROTC, very similar. So I just did both. And I'm so glad I went ROTC now because what you get is you get the college life and you also get to become an officer and you get to serve. So I feel like the best of both worlds. Where service academy, it's like military nonstop, 24/7, 365
Especially
in the uniform.
At the beginning.
No, and I'm not saying that's bad. I know tons of people who graduated from West Point, Annapolis, and they're great officers and wonderful people. It's just a very different experience. So just service in general at Gonzaga, the more that I've gotten involved in connecting with alumni who are veterans, you have to do a little bit of research, and we've done reunions. So you look back, you're asking me about the ROTC program, but it started in the early 1900s. Like they had cadet corps here in the early 1900s. Like just let that sink in for a minute. Like that long ago, we were training soldiers for the usefulness of serving and protecting our nation. So if you think back, you're like, man, anybody who was a part of ROTC, which started in the 70s, the Army ROTC program, you're a part of a fabric that started decades before that at the beginning of the century. So it's crazy to look back at some of the old pictures and things like that. But the ROTC program at Gonzaga is much like Gonzaga. It's a small program that punches way above its weight class. It's an amazing transformative experience within the Gonzaga experience. You go from, I don't know how to tie my boots, shine my boots, wear the uniform to being a leader who can lead in a wartime scenario. So it's amazing how ROTC programs are structured, really structured to crawl, walk, run, which is a military philosophy. You can't just start sprinting. You have to learn the basics. And they teach you how to be an officer by teaching you to be a non-commissioned officer and all the roles that the non-commissioned officer corps play, which gave me and really gives cadets appreciation for the military and the backbone of the military, which is our non-commissioned officers, And you start to understand the structure. So it's really, really wisely woven together. But being in ROTC in the 90s at school, there were some times where it was awkward because like we used to do our maneuvers on campus. They don't do that anymore. We would be carrying around rubber ducks, so fake M16s, and low crawling through the grass. So like imagine like you're low crawling through the grass with like people in a platoon, 30 people, doing a maneuver at the quad, and your friends from your dorm are walking walking past you like, "Hey, Drew," and you're like, "I can't talk to you right now." Like,
it's really hard to take training seriously in a situation like that.
It is, and so you're trying to focus on it because you're getting graded.
Yeah.
You're on the Thursday labs. They still have labs on Thursday, but back down where the soccer field is now, that was just one long flat piece of grass from the top of where the science buildings are all the way to the river. So they carved that. Used to be like a huge strack lane. We used to land helicopters there.
Oh, interesting.
So now it's the soccer field and the practice soccer field and the putting green.
You'd still land helicopters there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, believe me. No, I've landed in helicopters in very tight places before. But it was very interesting because on one hand, you get this instant family, right? So like, you don't even know that you're going to get that. You just do. Like right away, you're like, hey, we're all in this together. So, you know, like you commiserate and
trauma
like
bonding.
Yeah, trauma bonding, 100%. You know, we had this NCO who was our main trainer for almost 3 years, but specifically our junior year, MS3 year, who was just, we hated him, you know, and I use that in a, you know, tongue-in-cheek way, but we did not like this guy. He was a 19-year infantry hardcore guy. He trained us for a year, and our class did the best that Gonzaga ROTC's done in like decades.
Yeah.
So after we got through our summer camp, we all went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, now we get it. But before, you just feel like, oh my gosh, this person's making my life a living hell.
Yeah.
Like, why are their standards so high, and why are we getting, you know, chewed out for this and that and the other thing? But it's like that is a lot of the military.
Yeah.
You know, where you have to get broken down and then built back up, and you know, you get in the best shape of your life, and that's part of it because you have to be physically in shape for your mind to work at optimal and stuff. So it's Gonzaga ROTC's here was just amazing. Like some of my closest friends are the people I didn't even necessarily serve with afterwards.
Yeah.
They're just people I spent 4 years doing this training with.
Yeah.
You know, and you're spending a lot of time with this PT every morning, labs, weekends, these field training exercises. And it's just, it's pretty incredible. Yeah. And there's lots of fun stories that kind of we all share that are just a part of the general story pool of people that went through our time. We ended up having like one of the largest classes in recent, well, it's not very recent anymore, but since our class, so this is 96, 44 people commissioned that year, and now they're commissioning like 7, 8, 9, 10 maybe tops.
Oh, wow.
So a significant decrease. Some of that is like scholarship money is not the same. It's recruiting needs for the whole military. It's, you know, so, you know, there's lots of different viewpoints on it, but we are this huge class. So it's like I know all of those other 43 people really well.
Yeah.
And some of them I haven't ever seen again, but a lot of them I bump into. And now that I'm in alumni work, it's one of my favorite things is running into. Yeah. You know, I'll make an excuse to go meet with somebody who's like, I'm doing alumni relations. You know, I'm going to go meet with my friend who was in ROTC with me. And then, but yeah, I just feel like even the cadre, the people who serve within the program are top notch. People want to come to Gonzaga and serve in the ROTC program and get a rotation here. We've been really lucky the past few years. We've had 2 Zag alumni that have been the professors of military science. So 2 in a row, which is kind of amazing. So that's different, right? Because you're talking about a lieutenant colonel who came from the program, who is a Zag, who's then back carrying the program on. There's something really special about that. one of the things I was really fortunate to be able to be a part of and is launching a military service community for alumni veterans, and not just Army and not just ROTC, but any veteran who's a Zag who served at any of the services and connected family members as well. So we launched that in 2023, and we had one of the current PMSs who was a Zag helped launch it, which is extra special to work with. And he was actually in my class a couple of years back from like just behind me in ROTC. So classmate, PMS, and then we got to launch this thing together, and it's been really special to see the response from Zag veterans to want to be involved.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really it's one of the funnest parts of my job. I think about our Maverick House for our student military veteran returning adult center, and we were talking about Matt earlier. I love that he gets to focus on that all day. Like part of me is like, my favorite part of my job is working with the military service community for Gonzaga. It's deeply satisfying to be able to connect veterans in that way and see how we can help. Yeah, we have some veterans that have lost their lives, which is to be expected with the conflicts that we've had. But we're trying to take care of those families. We're trying to think about a lot of different things as a veteran community. How do we give back to the program? How can we make connections with young lieutenants who are getting placed at their first duty station? Do we have any Zags at Fort Hood or Fort Lewis or wherever they go? Like who's there? Can you help network? Back to the networking thing. Where are those? How can we help facilitate some of those connections? So those are some of the things we think about. And I wouldn't have even thought about doing anything like this had I not had the experience of going through ROTC at Gonzaga. Yeah. And so it's been amazing to be a part of it. Yeah.
So what was your experience like? So after you graduated, so you're a fresh second lieutenant. Mm-hmm. You said you weren't active duty. You were reservist or guard?
Yeah, guard. So I did my officer basic course in Virginia, and that was like 6 months, and then was basically in a couple of different guard units in Washington. We had some state deployments, and I think you were talking about a friend who went guard and then ended up getting deployed near the – that was me. So I had an 8-year commitment, and it was right near the end of my 8 years that I got deployed to Iraq. And it's – again, that's how we're fighting wars, which is not a new thing, the total force where you've got your reserves and National Guard and regular Army. But yeah, I think even being a new lieutenant in a guard environment, which is where, you're just seeing your fellow soldiers and the people you're leading once a month, a couple weeks in the summer, or you're getting activated to go fight a fire in Tenasket, that's a place in Washington if you weren't aware. But anyway, like there's, or you're going to fight. There was like riots in Nia Bay because the Greenpeace was rioting because the native tribe was hunting whales, and so Greenpeace didn't want them to do that. So we were, that was like a 10-day deployment to Nia Bay, which is at the end of the earth, Washington, essentially. These are the kinds of experiences you have, but ultimately, like, the important thing for me is that I had that foundation of Gonzaga. So I never felt like I couldn't do my job, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's about connection with people. It's about being a leader that people can say, not necessarily even look up to, but say like, there's someone I respect because I show respect to people. So the people connection and with soldiers was really what like helped a lot. And it was I just thought of it as this carries over from my ROTC experience. Build community, lead, mission first, people always, is another like Army saying, but it's very true. But yeah, it's a growing experience too. Like you also don't know what you don't know. So you have to kind of endure a lot of things as a young officer. Just with, either people giving you a hard time or NCOs taking advantage of you. All in good fun a lot of the times. But
and it's interesting. It's one of those things about military life, because you're talking about because I was a senior NCO, and so that like oh, I have this, 22-year-old recent graduate who's in charge of me, who I, genuinely know 10 times as much about what we're doing.
Yep.
And having that like leader follower, but the mentorship is flipped. And so like being able to, because that's part of like as a senior NCO, it's like, hey, your job is to mentor junior officers, even though like, oh yeah,
that's
yes,
it.
sir, we're going to do what you do, what you say, but you shouldn't say that, that kind of thing.
Oh, no.
No, it's always interesting. And then, that idea of, so you like joining the Guard, and this was the same thing. I had Brian Siebeking on. That's going to be the lost episode, but but it was kind of the same thing. He joined the Guard in the late '90s.
Yeah.
It went back. It was peacetime because I joined in the late '90s as well, and it was peacetime. We won the Cold War.
Yeah. Everything's good.
It was just it was great, and then. Everything kind of flipped and changed, and so it was his experience was very much like it's the Guard bum thing, and then immediately it was like, oh, we're deploying to Iraq, this all happened, and
and I think what's interesting about that is like that might not have been on. Oh, that wasn't on a lot of people's radar who are Guard or Reserve. Were fulfilling their commitment of service that way.
Yeah,
it wasn't on mine, but at the same time, like. Zero hesitation from me.
Sure.
You get called, you answer the call. Zero hesitation. I was proud, so proud to serve my country, still am. Even with, in retrospect, as you look at that conflict.
Yeah.
And you say like, oh, what did we accomplish? And, were there weapons of mass destruction? And all the things. You still have to process that. At the end of the day, I still would have said yes because we need people to still serve. We still need people to put themselves in harm's way so that we live in a free nation. Yeah. And I think that's something that people don't understand a lot of times when they're talking about armies and wars and fighting forces. They think, well, why do we need it? And unfortunately we do. And you hope that you can just always be a peacekeeper, but sometimes in order to keep the peace, you got to go to war,
Yeah.
But it's it was an interesting experience that I'll process for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like you're talking about like looking at it in retrospect. Because I feel very much the same way. It like what I did, I feel like was righteous. In terms of like my job, I was in the rescue community, right? So it was like regardless of what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm in the life-saving business, kind of thing. But the overall, like, why are we there? Like that, the overall strategy. I almost said strategy. The overall, strategy. But you need people like you said who are willing to serve,
right?
Who are there, who basically are giving up their choice, right? Like I made my choice to basically hand that off, and then so I just say all this to say, like, as a retiree and now just a citizen and a voter and somebody looking at leaders with that understanding of these men and women in the armed services have committed to a thing, and the unspoken like tacit agreement is that like yes, and my leaders are going to use this commitment in the proper way, right? And so it's that, right? Of like, but like in Vietnam, where it was like the soldiers were the ones being held responsible for the leaders' decisions, right? In terms of like soldiers were getting mistreated. Some kid got drafted, didn't have any choice, and now
my dad got drafted,
right? And it's like, and now you got protesters. It's like you're protesting the wrong thing, right? It's like I remember just to completely take it in a different direction, like Starbucks had some policy of refugees, and people were like screaming at baristas in Starbucks about it. And it's like the barista didn't have anything to do with it. It's like, and it's that of like, holding soldiers responsible for the foreign policy that they're implementing. But
that's America, right? Like that's it's frustrating and beautiful at the same time. Like it's the same thing, like why we chose to protect freedom and go to war, not just for the people who are like believed in the cause or believe in freedom. Really, it's for the people who hate the military and the people who are, considered liberal or whatever, and say all those things or misuse their anger or misguide it. We did that for everybody.
Yeah.
We serve every American.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they appreciate it or not.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
it's
I
not
completely
just
agree.
for the freedom-loving, flag-waving people.
Yeah.
That's what the vow is.
Yeah.
If you're a soldier, it's selfless. It's I die for every citizen.
Yeah.
Or, basically, I could.
Yeah.
Basically, you sign on the dotted line, you're giving your life up for your country.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But yeah, and that's the thing though, is it's like it's the like for me though, it's the holding leaders responsible. Like I've learned so much as an adult, because like when we went to war in Iraq, like I was. I mean, I was a 24-year-old staff sergeant, but I was fully like on board. Like this is a thing that needs to happen. I was like, and then as years and decades later, and you start to see like the full scope of the information, and then it's that of like, again, like I said, I feel good about like my contribution, but and especially like in Afghanistan, where like once we started seeing, like when we pulled out of Afghanistan, a lot of my attitudes changed about U.S. foreign policy and my own service and all kinds of, like the whole thing changed. A lot changed in my head for, for that. But I don't regret. I mean, I don't regret anything I've done. I just sometimes wish it had been in service of something different, I guess,
Yeah, no, I don't think you're alone in that. And that's the quandary, I think, for the soldier, is like a lifetime where you said yes, and then you have to look back and you have to process your service experience the rest of your life. And sometimes that's really hard, because I think, I was in Iraq for a year. I had a 18-month-old son when I left. My wife was pregnant with our second. He was born mid-deployment. Yeah. So I could say like, oh, that's hard, man. Yeah, it was difficult because I didn't know if I was going to make it home to them. Yeah. But, man, I could list 100 people that had it harder than I did, or were in worse situations. Like, we ran some convoys. Yeah, we did base defense. We had 500 bombs land on our base in the year that I was there. Yeah. Thank God none of them hit me or anybody that I knew. Yeah. But it's you say yes. And your yes is your yes. And then to your point, like I don't feel bad about serving, because I feel like I did all that I could do during that time. And I'm just grateful to be back. But then the rest of your life, like, my brother's a veteran. He was in the first wave of OIF. I came right at the end of him serving. He was in Baghdad. I was in Mosul. But he carries his service time differently than me. But he's also done a tremendous amount for veterans too. So like kind of that's part of his healing is serving veteran communities. He helps with a great foundation based out of Gig Harbor, the Permission to Start Dreaming Foundation, which is a wonderful, wonderful foundation. They work directly with Gary Sinise and his kind of some of his foundation work, and they raise money to help veterans and with post-traumatic stress, and they're interested in post-traumatic growth, which is one of their cool things, which I'm definitely a firm believer in that. But it's your whole life. Like your whole life, you're kind of just trying to process it. I feel like when you talk to a veteran, like when you and I are talking, like there's an unspoken understanding about a lot of things that we don't even need to articulate. Yeah. There's shorthand. There's probably some instant trust just based on what we've been through. And that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I think a lot of times it's good for me, even though I don't keep in touch with as many of my veteran buddies as I want to, or as often as I want to. When I do, it's really great. Yeah. There's a lot of just mutual understanding and a lot of peace in being able to talk and continue to sort through things, So
yeah, it's funny. I was in 20 years. I've been out 9 now. Where does the time go? But I went back out. I mean, I spent a lot of time out here at Fairchild at the survival school, and I was back out there couple weeks ago, and it just felt weird to walk around. Like, I feel it's been such a disconnect, and I'm such a different person now than I was, because it's interesting to me, like I don't know if it's interesting to anybody else, but it's interesting to me, like that transition, because like after 20 years in the military, and especially coming up as a military brat, like I was 3rd generation career military, like it's the family business. And so like to move away from that, and then to like get your head out of it, and then to sort of see it with a detachment of time and distance. It's a completely different perspective. It's great. Like, I mean, I feel like I've sort of leveled up in wisdom, if you can say that without sounding like a complete douchebag. But like, just that, like I still have a few people I know that are still active duty. Most of the people I knew are gone by then now. But it's just interesting talking to some folks, and just like the things that I used to care very deeply and passionately about, like issues within, whatever. And like, they're telling me about problems that I was working on like 9 years ago, and somebody will be working on them 9 years from now. And it was just like, man, I can't care. I just can't care, man.
It's fascinating. Again, and it's to your point, I understand everything that you're saying, because it's you have your service time, and then you're living it, kind of looking backwards in some ways, not all the time, but you're reflecting, you're processing, you're letting go of stuff. But I have the same experience where I'll talk to, people who are still serving, and they're like, this is a problem. And I'm like, some of that is just like being in the military, and some of the inefficiencies, some of that's just organizational structure. Some of it is like, nobody really understands this big, huge machine that it is, like.
Yeah, well, and that's like, I knew it was time to retire. So I was stationed here at Fairchild. It was at survival school. I was running a couple different courses, and then I PCS'd to Hawaii. I was there for 3 years. Great time, wonderful time. Ended up PCSing back, permanent change of station. So that's when you change duty station. I'm sure they know. But like, so I moved to Hawaii for 3 years, came right back, and they put me in the same job I had been in when I left, which I was already unhappy about. But then I'm having the same conversation with the same civilian employee about the same issue that we solved. But see, I left, they put somebody else in that job, and he was like, well, we should change this, that, and the other. And you know what I mean? And so then so it's that, because of the temporary nature of everybody's assignment, nothing is ever permanent. No, like, I have this, like, I was really proud of the work I'd done in that unit on those courses. And then I came back, and the next guy was just like, I don't like that, and changed it. So then it was like, well, okay, I'm going to fix all this again. For what purpose? Like, we'll just let the next guy do it, you know? And as soon as I had that attitude, it was like, well, I don't belong here anymore. You know what I mean? Like, because, and I mean, you'll resonate with this. Like, as soon as you don't care anymore, get out of there. Like, you got to get somebody else in who does.
100%.
And it was like, okay. And I remember being a younger guy in the military and talking to retired guys and being told, like, oh, you'll know when it's time to retire. And I'm like, that is not at all helpful advice.
What does that mean?
And then immediately I was like, this is exactly what I knew exactly the moment.
It's funny, because I think the other thing too is like leadership. Which the military, it doesn't matter whether you're like an officer or a non-commissioned officer, both sides, like you're leading in service. It's a service-oriented life, and it's this, you're learning the whole time, like how I am as a leader now versus how I was. It's a lot of it's the same core of who I am and how I feel about people, but like as a young LT, I cared about some stuff that just I probably should have let go, just because I had these standards and a very idealistic viewpoint on how the military should be and how units should run and how officers should operate. I got to tell you this funny story. I haven't told very many people this story, but this just speaks to my ROTC background and my respect for infantry. Because this master sergeant who I was telling you about, who we all really didn't like very much, and then ended up like getting the best results out of our class. I'm fighting fires in Tenasket. I was telling you, like, and this is like, I think it was weeks after I got married. So it was like 1998, summer in 98. I get called up, and we're fighting fires. and it's my guard unit. We're a transportation unit, but it doesn't matter. Like they're just pulling guard units. Everyone's doing
You're
what
a
they
warm
need
body.
Exactly. You're going to go dig some ditches. You're going to do fire suppression. You're going to haul stuff. So they end up pulling this active duty infantry unit from Fort Lewis there, and so I'm like, to my platoon, I was like, look, we're gonna get our stuff dialed in, okay? We're working with these guys, and we're not gonna look like a bunch of pogues out there. So we're gonna go, we're gonna be there early. We're gonna be set up. We're gonna work our plan because these guys are gonna be top notch. Okay, so this one particular morning we were starting this work together. We end up getting there right on time. We got all our vehicles lined up. We're ready to work, tools out. We've done all our preventive maintenance checks and services. We're ready to go. This infantry unit is like an hour late, and I was hot.
Yeah,
I was so mad. One, because I built this up, and I told my guys, and they were like, I was kind of on them, And this captain kind of rolls out of his Humvee. This guy, I don't even remember who he was. And I chewed his ass out. And I was just the first lieutenant, but I was so mad. Yeah. And I was like, what in the world? But it was this combination of like high standards and respect for infantry. Yeah. Also, my dad was in infantry. He was 11 Bravo in Vietnam. So I was like, you guys should be better than that. Are you kidding me? So anyway, I end up you do our work all day, and then at the end of the day, I had some major come in and pull me out of the tent, drag me all the way across the camp to this infantry headquarters, and basically forces me to apologize to this guy. Which at the time I was kind of like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. And he's like, do you realize the difference between a first lieutenant and a captain? I was like, one bar.
Do you remember do you know the difference between being on time and being late?
And again, my experience was I had this master sergeant who drilled into our head time limits. He was like, if you're not on time, your troops are dead. They're literally he just pounded. Yeah. So I go and I apologize to this guy. No, first of all, I talked to the lieutenant colonel who was like in charge of this whole division of infantry. The whole time I'm talking to him, and I'm contrite. I'm standing parade rest and just, sir, I apologize. I was out of line, and he's just got this smile on his face, and he's like, we're good, LT. My captain was wrong. No, he's like, we're good. And so he comes back. This captain comes up. I still say, I'm sorry. That's disrespectful, and I didn't do it in front of him. It was kind of he and I off, so no one really saw. But at any rate, it was just a hilarious moment. But speaking of the continuum of Drew now or 10 years ago, going to say, dude, just it is what it is. Okay, get to work. Yeah, let that energy go. They made a mistake. They were late. Yeah, obviously, we're not in a war zone. We're fighting a fire in Washington State. So just
Well, it's funny to me because there is so much in the military as part of the training, right? That crawl, walk, run you were talking about before, where there will be exacting standards on the dumbest stuff purely just to reinforce following a standard and following instructions in basic training. And I'm sure you dealt with something similar in ROTC, but the quintessential thing in basic training was the clothing drawer. Right, so your clothing had to be folded and arranged just so, and all that kind of stuff. And so, for example, all of the T-shirts had to be 6-inch squares. And when I say a 6-inch square, you folded it in such a way that all of the openings were to the back, right? The collar and the back, and they had to be rigidly aligned to the point where you needed to take tweezers to pull out. You know what I mean? Absurd attention to detail, absurd. And in the moment, it's absurd, and they know it's absurd, and they want you to know it's absurd, and you still have to do it anyway. That's the whole point, right? Yeah. But I think that often, as leaders, and I was guilty of it too. It's about finding where right is, right? But you sort of lose track of that, and then every standard becomes meticulously important. And it's no, Lieutenant, you need to understand that this is 6-inch T-shirts and this is, the rifle range. Right. You know what I mean? There's a difference of but because so much of it is life and death, and because I think the lifestyle sort of attracts a certain type of person who like needs that here is the book answer, and like that sort of person definitely can flourish in the military to the consternation of many of us. But yeah, so it's kind of finding that balance, because it's like in a situation where you're 100% correct and also kind of 100% wrong, as is the captain, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a minute of that. Sure. I'm so glad I did that, because it just is like, that's who I am, you know. So I wouldn't, you know, it is what it is. But it was like, it was just, it's also for me a leadership lesson and a reflection, and just like, okay, because I did really care tremendously about being a good leader, about having, you know, my people prepared, and about doing an excellent job. And that's just part of the, back to Gonzaga, the fabric of my training was that.
Yeah.
And people even told me like, yeah, Drew, you know, when you go into like guard or reserve, like you're going to realize the most professional unit you were ever in was ROTC. And I was like, that's BS, you know, like it's like, no, we used to clean the reservists' weapons because we used them, you know, with suppressors and blanks, but we used them on our FTXs. So we'd clean them for 6-7 hours after our FTX, and they were so dirty because we just and the upperclassmen, like they just loved to put us through the misery of doing it. 2, you really learned how to clean a weapon, and you needed to, because if you're in the field, that thing's got to function, or you're not gonna be able to protect yourself, and you know all the things. But those reservists got those weapons back, and they were pristine. Yeah. So, but it's all part of the, you know, and it's hard to go like that matters or this matters more than that, because those little discipline habits can build into bigger decisions that you make on the battlefield. You build discipline habits I didn't never go to boot camp, but when I was at Fort Lewis for our summer camp, we had, again, all these NCOs that ran kind of a 6-week boot camp. So they used to make us organize our foot lockers and our actual lockers. So it was down to, I mean, the level of detail and how things had to look was crazy. Yeah. You know, shining floors that couldn't be shined in barracks that my dad actually trained in before he went to Vietnam. Like it just, but the point is to stress people out, and to build that muscle of being able to be stressed out, still make decisions, still keep going, and still produce, you know? And so that is part of what veterans have. That's what, you know, you probably experience in your life. It's what I do a lot of days just working here at GU. You feel a little bit different as a veteran because you've been through hard things. And that's not to say that veterans are better. It's not to say that other people haven't been through hard things. You just have a different perspective on what hard is, because you've probably been in some pretty bad environments and still had to function. And so,
and I think it's one of those things that definitely, you know, builds resilience in the sense. I mean, obviously, you know, when you get into like traumatic stress and stuff, then you start stressing it a little too much. But the notion of, you know, all the training we went through, I mean, even outside of combat or any of that stuff, right? Because most veterans don't experience combat, right? But you still do experience the hardship and the difficulty, and you learn of yourself that you can push through. Yeah. And I think that lesson, more than anything else, is what, and like you said, you don't have to be a veteran to learn that lesson. Right. Right. But I think everybody should or has to learn that lesson somehow. Like you have to, especially as a young person, find your limits. Right. Yep. And because you will discover they are a lot farther out than you thought they were. Right. And so it's that of, you know, I see young people scared to try whatever the thing is, right? This might not work or that might not. And, you know, even being outside a veteran, just being of our age and having experienced some failure in life and realize that like, oh, that wasn't the end, you know, like, oh, that didn't work. And you just pick up and do the next thing, you know? But that resilience and that, just ability to push through hardship, and the ability to put up with nonsense, I think is all of it on its own. Because no matter what walk of life, I've talked to civilians who've never been in the military, and they give you that like, oh, I never could have, because you're just gonna like. everybody's doing what they're told, man. It's just a matter of how much choice you have, you know?
Yeah.
And so that notion of like, there's a lot of extraneous discipline and stuff like that.
Totally.
But that, so that ability to put up with whatever comes at you. And like I was talking to my daughter yesterday about a bee sting. I got something in my eye and it stung for just a second, and I was trying to liken it to a bee sting because I was still doing whatever was happening while my eye was watering and it was like in pain and I was still finishing the job. And she's like, "How are you doing that?" I'm like, "'Cause it's not actually in the way. It's just annoying while I'm doing this."
Yeah.
Like if my hands stopped working, I wouldn't be able to do the thing. But like my eye watering, you just focus on the task and ignore the thing.
Yeah.
And like that was some sort of magic formula for her that no, just because there's a problem, you can just ignore it.
Yeah.
Not that you ignore your problems and go away, but in that sort of situation where you're just like, that's just like, you know, the idiot light in the car coming on. It's just information.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. You know?
But that's what a lot of military training is. It's just throwing obstacles at you constantly and saying you still have to accomplish the mission.
Yeah.
And that is the actual mission, and then taking care of people along the way, you know? So like, and that's just what you get good at. You just are able to kind of like push stuff to other boxes, or, just overlook it and just go, I can do this because it's not debilitating. Like right now, like, it's something in my eye, or it's. Yeah. So, I think one of the interesting things is like military folks are really good problem solvers. Yeah. Just because they have had to just solve problems for a lot of their life, and especially in the service context. There's nobody going to be like, well, shoot, it's an obstacle, so, we're just going to give up. No, it's like, no, you just keep trying things, which, again, is incredibly helpful and good. And I feel like I wish there was context or training outside of military for students to get, students and young people and, to get that same sort of experience, because it's so valuable in so many ways. So.
Yeah. I think there's definitely, something about hardship in service of something, because, I mean, obviously suffering just for the sake of suffering is not, you're not learning anything.
No.
But that notion of committing yourself to a thing and seeing it through, despite hardship and whatever obstacle. And I think like proving to yourself that you can do those things, right? Because the thing I learned about building resiliency, it's just like any other muscle. You got to stress the organism, rest the organism, stress the organism, rest the organism. It's the same thing. And so it's that like setting hard goals, accomplishing hard goals. Smaller, bigger. And so like I meet every situation with probably more confidence than I should, because of, I know that I've, done hard things in the past. So it's like, okay, this is just a new hard thing, you know, and it's not that like, oh, I know I've got the answer. It's that I know that I will find it, or I will die in the midst of trying,
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. It's interesting too. I wish there was more of a way to distill all the things that military, that veterans have learned, like mental models and things, because I think there's things that you probably use every day, I do, that I don't even think about it. Yeah. It's a way of operating where things come up constantly, but you just are moving around them because of a mindset or a set of rules, and things like that, which can be really helpful. But I just think humans are capable of so much more than we give them credit for a lot of times. Yeah. Being here at GU has been amazing, and it's been amazing to work with our veterans. And I'm looking for more opportunities to do it. I think people who serve veterans are a special group of people, by virtue of their service and that commitment. And every veteran's story is unique and beautiful and unfolding. And I love listening to veterans and hearing their stories. And I think that's a lot of life too, is like veterans need to be heard. Yeah. That's a big part of it. because I feel like a lot of times they get done with their service, and like you were saying, you're then reflecting and processing and letting go.
Yeah.
And if you feel alone in that, then that can be a dark place to be sometimes. So my heart goes out to all the veterans who are struggling, and veterans do. And I mean, you've seen the statistics on suicides and things like that. I don't know if it's still 22 a day. That was the figure they were throwing around in recent years. Maybe less, maybe more, but it's too many.
Yeah, I mean, one's too many.
Whatever
right?
the number is. So, my mindset and my heart is really just to be involved, whether I'm here at Gonzaga or volunteering at my brother's. He runs this big golf tournament for this Permission to Start Dreaming Foundation that raises a bunch of money. If I'm doing that, it's whatever I can do to connect and help. And I feel like that's a continuation of my service, and it's a joy to do that, right? It's very natural. So, and I find a lot of veterans feel that way too.
Yeah.
If there's a way for them to plug in and continue to help, they'll do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's an important part of it too, because I mean, as a veteran, like you have a mission, whatever your job was in the military, but we're all very mission focused.
Yeah.
And then you get out and you have to find another mission for yourself.
Yep.
It's funny. I was thinking about this when you were talking earlier, where like in the military, you really are explicitly led to believe that like what you're doing is not only important, but the most important thing you will ever do with your life.
Yeah.
Right. And so as a 47-year-old veteran, if the most important thing I'll ever do with my life has already happened, well, that's a problem for me.
Right.
Right. That's a great thing as the 25-year-old in the middle of doing it. But now, well, okay, I guess the most important part of my life is over. Well, that can't
What
be
am
true,
I now? Who
right?
am I now? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that of finding, I mean, I was lucky, I have family and, I was able to kind of make that transition, but it actually took me longer to transition to civilian life than I thought. Like I would have told you I had done it. Like it wasn't that complicated.
Yep.
And it wasn't like I've been out for a few years when I realized like, oh, I've still, because it's all of that. It's indoctrination, intentional.
Yep.
And then and a lot of it is good. You don't want to unlearn it.
Right.
But there is a lot you need to unlearn.
Yep.
It definitely, it took me a while to realize that. And then it took me a little bit longer to actually, get there.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to know how you've changed, right, as a soldier or an airman or as a service member.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing I've been reflecting on is like my wife would tell you or others like I've changed a lot. And that's even hard to like say, like even I hear myself say that and I internally I say like, no, I'm still me, know. But I have like you can't serve and in any capacity, whether you go to war or not, or it's just it will fundamentally change you if you go through a service experience with training and actually put time in. It just changes you, So it's done that for me, and I think it's one of those reflection pieces again where I have to go. Trying to discover like what do I have blind spots that I don't know about, and like how do I deal with my stress? I know coming back from Iraq, it was it's hard to say other than like you still feel like you're in a threat environment for a long time, and I'm very cautious all the time. Not something you can detect. Yeah. And a lot of times it bugs my family. Yeah. Like, why are we doing that? Or why'd you go check that? Or like, why did you tell us that we needed to stop and walk this way? Like, it's because you think differently. You're thinking about threat analysis all the time. Yeah. In every environment, and then protecting your loved ones. Yeah. Whether it's your home or you're on vacation or you're at Disneyland or you're driving or you're at the mall or you're in a bathroom or you're in a restaurant. Yeah. Wherever, and then that just kind of gets hardwired into you. So that's normal, but also not. Right. Not. Right.
Well, and the other thing that I really had to unlearn was I was allowing myself, almost kind of insisting on getting sort of taken advantage of by employers because you have that mission focus of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Yep. Well, now I'm not really doing that in service of like anything important. I'm doing it in service of like the bank account of a guy I don't actually like. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, I'm working really hard for a company that does not care about me, and I'm not getting any. You know what I mean? And it's like, wait a minute, I understand why I'm a great hire for them, but you know, and so it was that of like, oh wait, this. And that was really when I recognized, like, oh, I need to be committed to something, and this job isn't it.
Yeah.
So I'm throwing my energy in the wrong direction.
Yep.
Just because I need to throw my energy in a direction, and I need to, like, you know, and then you start like, okay, what is it I actually want? Because I've never really thought about that. Yeah. You know, because you talk about, like, you know, you've changed, and, you know, but for me, I mean, again, I joined the Air Force at 17, and I got out at 38. You know, so of course I mean, I would have changed in those 20 years anyway. It's just a question of, like, there's no way to know who you would have been. Like, if I'd have come to college right after, it's even if I'd have joined the ROTC, I mean, I might have known what I know now. I probably would have gotten a part in a theater production and realized, you know, it would have been a whole crazy, you know, changed everything. Yeah. And not necessarily for the better. I mean, I have no regrets really, other than I wish I'd have stretched more and, you know, taken better care of my knees and hips. But
did you do theater in high school? Did you kind of have that? Okay.
I did. So for me, like I said, this is a family. The military was a family business. Like I grew up to be exactly what I wanted to be. Like I grew up in the '80s playing GI Joe and listening to my grandpas talk about World War II. Yeah. And then, like I said, we won the Cold War when I was in junior high school. I mean, it was like there was nothing else I wanted to do. Yeah. And it's only looking back. And I see all of the things I could have done that I had no interest in at the time. All these opportunities that were available to me. Yeah. And again, I know it sounds like I have regrets, and I really don't. Just more curiosity. You know, it's that, you know, It's a Wonderful Life thing. Like, you know, what could have been or whatever. But yeah, honestly, I think somebody said the other day, like, when we give advice, we're just talking to our past selves. So there's a young gentleman that I met here in this program who just graduated, and he's looking to join the Navy. Yeah. And it was like all I could do to not try to talk him out of it. And I kept my mouth shut, man. I was just like, that sounds great. Sounds like a great plan. Because I'm not trying to talk anybody out of their life, right? And it worked for me. Right. It's just now me having had that experience looking back. Yeah. Oh man, no, you should try something like, you know, but again, that's me talking to me. That's not me talking to that guy.
That's
you know?
Interesting.
I mean, I do have some political issues about like, I wouldn't, my nephew almost joined the Navy and I'm super glad he didn't. Right. For purely foreign policy, political reasons. Yep. Nothing to do with his life. So but separate from that, just the like, you know, no, you should, you know, like I gotta keep my mouth shut on that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Because
that's interesting.
It's weird again to be like the older student, and I've made some really good friends, you know, amongst the young student population here. Yeah, but it's hard to not, try to be like their wise old uncle in a way that like nobody's asking me to do that. You know what I mean? Like if you want advice, I'll give you advice, but like you don't need me to like, here's what you should do.
You don't need me to interject every 5 minutes.
Yeah, but at the same time, because the other side of that is I know all of the advice that I would give one of these people that would absolutely be me talking to my younger self. When I was my younger self, I know for sure somebody said that to me. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing that I'm going to tell anybody that somebody didn't tell me, but you gotta figure it out for yourself. You gotta.
That's it. That's the tough thing about raising kids too. You know, like I you know, you want to tell them everything, even if you're trying to like restrain yourself and not give advice all the time. Like it's, experiential learning is one of the greatest things ever. Yeah. And one of the downsides to having so much technology now is that I feel like people in general are doing less adventuring and experimenting or trying because they're afraid to be on video doing it. Like, I heard a stat recently, let's anecdotal a little bit, but like kids don't go to they go to dances, but they don't dance because they're afraid someone's going to film them dancing and they look stupid or something. Yeah. That's ridiculous. Yeah. You know, I learned to dance just after like football games with you just do it. Like, you know, like there's no But imagine if like, oh man, I'm on a camera right now, and they're going to put that on the World Wide Web, which anyone on the planet can look at. Like that's just a different paradigm. I'm so glad that I didn't grow up with a computer in my hand. Like it's just such a complex world now with navigating young lives, even for soldiers, if you want to talk about that, like having technology and how that causes problems.
Well, it creates all sorts of new ways for you to get in trouble. And something that would be maybe a letter of counseling or something from your supervisor goes viral, and now all of a sudden the Secretary of Defense is making sure that your career's over. You know what I mean? It's just like
totally.
It's a weird world we live in.
It is.
Man. It's a crazy.
Yeah,
it's the future.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things too where you say, like, back to like Jesuit education here in little old Spokane, Washington at Gonzaga. How do we continue to do this? How do we make it authentic and real, where human communities can still thrive with more and more digital and technological proliferation, and surveillance and all the things.
Well, and I think it makes that real human connection we were talking about before that much more important, because we have so much artificial connection where it's not real, it's curated and it's social media and it's whatever, and you're not sitting having a conversation with somebody, just BSing on a porch as the sun sets with a beer. You know what I mean? It's but that connection, that community, I think it just you just can't find that online.
Yep.
But I think you're talking about raising kids. As parents, we've sort of created a situation where, at least I know my childhood compared to how I've raised my kids, they have so much less physical freedom than I did.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But then they have all this freedom online. So of course they're going to stay home and run around in the Minecraft world where they can go wherever.
Yeah.
Because, I can't let them go more than 8 blocks from home because of the whatever, I'm sure it was the same for you when I was a kid. Man, my parents didn't know where we were.
It was like when it gets dark, when the streetlights come on, come home.
Yeah. If something happened to me at 8 o'clock in the morning, nobody would have even started looking until 9 o'clock at night. You know what I mean?
I had a paper route growing up in Tacoma from the time I was 10 till I graduated from high school. It was the only job that I had time for, playing sports and doing the things. And I could go off on having paper routes, which is an amazing thing that doesn't exist anymore because we don't need reading newspapers and they don't let kids deliver papers. But I'd be miles from my house in like downtown Tacoma collecting cash from people for their papers at 10 at night. Yeah. And my parents are like, yeah, you're good. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see you when you get home. Walking around with a bag full of money. Yeah. 12, 13-year-old kid, on a skateboard in downtown Tacoma. Like, it's just different world. Or is it different? Yeah. Right?
Well, and that's the thing is, like, so much of the information is, it's like we have too much information. Right. Because if you look at actual crime statistics from the 90s to now versus like poll data of what people think crime is doing from the 90s to now, that is an X on a graph, right? Like everybody thinks crime is going up, but it's actually been getting nothing but better since the 90s. That's it. But even as a parent, right? I grew up in the 80s where it was all stranger danger and stuff, right?
No, totally.
And for a while, I remember we lived in this little town in upstate New York right after my dad got out of the Navy, right? And my dad, so adult me listening to my father, who's now grandfather, talking about my childhood, and he's like, well, yeah, we lived in this little town and we just let you roam because everybody knew everybody and we weren't worried, but that little town straddled an interstate highway, right? So somebody could have pulled off in a van, snatched me and like took off. Easy. But in my dad's mind, total safety, right? For me, we're recognizing all the statistics of like the stranger kidnapping is actually pretty rare, all that stuff, right? They're actually way safer than we were as kids. But as a parent, I feel so much more scared for their safety.
Yeah, totally.
Even knowing I'm wrong to feel that, like it's because, well, if I keep them home, they can't get kidnapped, so that's easier.
Yeah, it's funny. Like in my neighborhood in Spokane, we've gone full circle from the time we started having kids, and my kids are older now, but like to retirees and rentals in the neighborhood back to now there's 4 or 5 families with younger kids. and they're running around and playing outside, and I'm like, this is the best thing. I'm like, keep doing that.
Yeah.
As long as you can. They're doing lemonade stands. I always go over and give them throw some money at them. Like, just get outside and keep adventuring and creating, because, you know, being on social media all day or just being inside, that's not where life is, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's, I feel like, I don't know how we get back to that in our society. It can take a very intentional effort.
Yeah.
Because we need to get outdoors more. We need to, nobody knows their neighbors, you know, or a lot of people don't know their neighbors as well as they used to, when everybody used to know everybody.
Yeah.
At least you knew them by name.
Yeah.
You could walk across the street and have a conversation with them or whatever. But now it's like the garages have gotten bigger, the backyards have gotten bigger, and the front porches don't exist. And people drive their car into the garage and they get a door in through the garage into the house, and no one's sitting on the front porch anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and we've created a society where, like, the world can come to our house, right? We've made it where, like, I don't have to. Yeah. There's no, like, third place, right? Like, if you go to Europe or somewhere like that, where everybody's out in the cafe or they're the piazza or they're, like, people are out, people are mingling, people are doing stuff. And we've got our, you know, subdivisions, and you got your little house, and you're not going to drive, you know, down over here to. We've created this world for ourselves over the past, you know, 60 years or whatever, and then, you know, last 30 years of the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point, like, for me, you know, because especially, like, after COVID, where it was like, now everything's delivered and whatever. And it was just like the notion of, like, going back to the grocery store and, like, actually walking up and down the aisles and shopping, as opposed to, like, going online and doing the grocery order and then picking it up in the parking lot where I don't even have to talk to anybody. And it's just like, no, I want to go in. And I want to have that where, like, oh, I've got to stop to let you move past me, and, like, I'm in your way, and so we've got to actually do the societal, like, oh, no, here, you go ahead. Like, actually have that positive human interaction with a stranger. It seems so stupid and meaningless, and then when it's not there, and you're just like, oh, the only actual interaction we have is, like, internet comments on political memes or whatever, and it's just like, well, that's It's not a recipe for unity, you know?
Yeah, like, no, it's not. And it's like, it's all sorts of things. And I know we're kind of waxing on just society now, but, like, loneliness is an epidemic. The statistics are saying it's because of those severed relational connections, real interactions. And so people are feeling, like, isolated online, isolated at home. And it's a little frightening, you know? Yeah. So then, like, you think even to, like, how people organize these days. Like, back in the day, there was the social organizer in your group who was, like, the one that would make the phone call from the landline at your house or walk over to the house, you know, and you were always getting together with your friends. Now it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to get together with my friends. I think I just want to sit on my phone for 2 or 3 hours. Like, you know, kids are falling into those traps. It's like, get out of the house, go hang with your friends, go make memories, go, you know, don't go do something stupid, but do something stupid, like, you know, like, learn, fail. I don't know. Now they're talking about there's not going to be Amazon drivers here pretty soon, or, I mean, it's all going to be drone technology pretty soon. They're working really hard on it, and so it's going to be a matter of time till, like, there won't be a human that delivers anything to you, even if you are getting your groceries delivered. And that's like a tiny little human, like, oh, there's a human dropping off my groceries or my package. No, it's a drone. Yeah. And then that generation will be like, well, that's normal. Yeah. And that's just sci-fi to me, even though I understand it. Yeah, it's funny. I remember reading a short story in an English class when I was in high school. So, you know, early 90s or whatever. And I wish I could remember the author or the story or whatever it was, but that was the basic premise, is, like, nobody went outside anymore. Everybody had teleporters by this point. Oh, wow. And so, like, basically only poor people went outside, right? And the whole story was this rich kid who'd never actually been outside, like, his transporter broke down, he had to walk to school, goodness. And it's like, oh my God, have you been outside? It's amazing. Yeah. And that's, like, the whole premise of the story. But I really think we're getting to that point of, like, people are gonna be like, holy shit, have you seen a tree? It's amazing. I know. Yeah, that's 100% where we're at, you know, and so I don't know. I think it takes individual effort, like, so back full circle to Gonzaga veterans, community. Like, we need to be about, like, building human community in the best way that we can. Doing this, sitting across from each other at a podcast table, having a conversation about things. Veterans are some of the best humans out there.
Yeah.
And I feel like as much as we can as veterans, being champions for other veterans and serving in veteran communities and having the dialogue and keeping people getting together. World Cup was pretty beautiful. I'm not even really a soccer fan, but it was really interesting how people had to show up and go to the match. And I know a lot of people watch it on TV and stuff, but it's what we got to be thinking about, how we can be more together than separate.
Yeah. In
a way that, because the world and our society's heading in the wrong direction. So institutions like Gonzaga, and veteran, groups are so important to keep people at the center, so that's really where my heart is, like, as, someone who's in servant leadership at GU, just super blessed to be here, and to be a part of the mission at Gonzaga, and just love the work and love the people. Honestly, it's my favorite thing, meeting Zag veterans and meeting and having conversations and just being really astounded by the character and integrity of the people that graduate from this place worldwide. People who really literally give you the shirt off their back, who will run across a crowded airport if they see someone else with a Gonzaga shirt on. Like, it is something special here. And, the veteran contingent within that is an even more important core to all of it. So, yeah.
So that's actually a pretty effective wrap up right there. I think you nailed it. I don't even, maybe you're the host of this podcast.
No.
So do you have any Zag veterans you can think of off the top of your head you might nominate to be on the show?
Oh, man. I've got a buddy here locally, Steve Borchers, who is a business owner and also was in the Army ROTC program here, who's a really good guy and is connected to veterans, and he might be an interesting conversation.
Right on.
And he's here local, so I could connect you to him.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I could think of some more too, but I know veterans like to chop it up.
Sure, yeah.
And there's always interesting things that come out, and there's a lot of great stories, but ultimately I think we're all proud to have served this great country that we're in, which is still the greatest country on the planet,
Yeah.
So, this is great, Patrick. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you came out, man. It's a great conversation.
I appreciate what you're doing, man. Keep doing it.
Oh, I will. I will. Like I said, I mean, as long as I can keep getting vets to come on and chat, I've got access to the podcast studio at least through the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Before Josh cuts me. Like, once other students come back and actually need to use it for school.
Yeah.
But Josh has been indulging me with all my requests, so it's been great.
That's cool, man. Well, I'll tune into some of the other ones, and we'll be talking, man. This was great.
Right on. Absolutely. Well, this is the Vets Are Zags podcast, and thanks for listening.
Let's go.